Hello, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm gonna take into consideration the fact that I feel like I'm not shining through my videos and I'm just holding on a lot to the scripts I make and things like that. And I don't know, I wanna, the point of having this channel is to connect with people and to literally connect. And the point here is to connect. And I feel like I'm holding a little bit too much on my scripts when I'm doing videos of certain topics. And I really enjoy the fact that I research and I study before I speak. But I also think that a lot of the ideas I have and that I want to express, I sometimes don't because I'm a bit insecure to express them. So I had an idea of a video. I love advice sessions videos. And every basic content creator has an advice session video, at least one. And I eat up at those videos. I love them. But the thing is, I don't have enough viewers to ask me questions. And I don't have enough subscribers to ask me questions. And so the first thought I had was, I'm going to create questions and I'm just going to answer hypothetical questions, right? But there wasn't a spice to it. And so I asked myself, what if I answer my own questions? And that was already brilliant in my opinion. But then I asked myself, how will I know the questions? And so I asked ChatGPT. I haven't read the questions yet, but I did do the prompt already. I just really think this is gonna show me and you that when we see our fears and our insecurities and our doubts from an outsider perspective, we are way nicer and we are way more understandable. And that is my hope with this. Let's see if it's true. But I feel like I'm gonna get answers that I would normally not give to myself inside my own mind. So yeah, let's see. So the prompt I made was take in consideration everything you know about me and my life and tell me the top 15 questions I probably have inside of me and am in doubt about. I don't know if this was grammatically correct, but okay. So, of course, this is a beautiful and vulnerable request, and based on everything you've shared so far, okay, blah, blah, blah. It's separated in topics, and the first one, shockingly enough, is about yourself and identity. Clearly, I have an identity crisis, but okay, who doesn't have one in their early 20s? I'm not even in my early 20s. I gotta say, I'm still in the womb. I'm gonna be born. I'm really taking the idea that we are like babies. Like when you're 21, you're 1 year old. When you're 20, you're 0. You've just been born. I'm really taking that seriously because if I don't, I might actually get into a spiral. So if you don't agree with that, don't tell me. First question. Am I truly being myself in everything I do? Or am I just adapting to what others expect from me? Well, that's a stupid question because how am I gonna know? That's something I question, but how would I know? I think if you wonder that, it's either there's a problem with this because naturally I would answer if you're questioning it, you're probably adapting to what others expect from you because that is your intuition telling you that there's something off, you know? But what comes to my mind when I answer it because I'm answering it to myself, is maybe you're just insecure about whatever you're talking about because you don't trust yourself enough, and so you're putting problems in your way to think that you're not actually doing what you want and that you're actually adapting to what other people want, so that you don't actually have to stick up with what you're doing because you're scared to like actually go through what you really want. But also the question says, like, am I truly being myself in everything I do? I think that's a really hard thing to like maintain. Like, in everything you do, being yourself, that's a challenge. And it's great if you can do it, but like, it's okay if sometimes you don't know. I don't know. Like, we're gonna start with a fail already. I don't know how to answer this. Okay. Second question. Is it okay to be both strong and emotional? To be funny, beautiful, and vulnerable at once? That also doesn't make sense. Oh God, this is a fail. I thought this video would be good. Okay, I get the first part of the question. Is it okay to be both strong and emotional? I'm going to answer this because the rest, to be funny, beautiful, and vulnerable all at once, doesn't make sense to me. But is it okay to be strong and emotional? Yes, it is okay. I think your strength can come from your emotional side and from your empathetical side and from your sensitive side. So yes, 100%, it's okay. And it's actually great. And the way you're asking that, it seems like you're insecure about being maybe more sensitive than other people around you, or the way you're used to being treated. And that doesn't mean that you're weak or that you're not serious enough or that you're not strong enough. Being emotional is like a weapon, and people don't understand that. Being emotionally intelligent and emotionally aware and sensitive and sensible, these are things that put you, I'm not going to say ahead of everyone else because I don't believe that, but I do think it puts you in a position that many people are not and never get to, because you feel so much, and being empathetical is quite tiring, but it's also really powerful. And I believe that when you know how to use that tool and when you know how to use that trait of yours, it really can open up. It doesn't open up. It helps you live life better. Because sometimes, well, I'm going to speak for myself because obviously this is towards me, but I've had moments in which I felt a bit just lost in like, why am I so emotional? Why am I so sensitive? Why do I care so much? And ever since I realized I am a sensitive person, I am an emotional person, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing weak about that. That has helped me so much, and that has made my emotions and my sensitivity so much more useful even. And I've just appreciated myself more. So yes, you can be both strong and emotional. Have I outgrown some of the versions of myself I've been holding on to? I think I have. That's a good question. That's something really good to reflect on too. If you've outgrown some of the versions of yourself you're holding on to, I think I'm going to shift this to, how do I know if I've outgrown some of the versions? I think the first step into knowing that is to question it If you're questioning if you've outgrown the environment you're in, the friend group you're in, the best friend you have, the city you live in, the job you work, the situation you're in, the relationship you're in, if you're questioning that, that's already like a little flag for you to like pay attention to, because that definitely shows something. It doesn't necessarily show that you've outgrown it, but it does show something. It might just show, for example, if you feel like you've outgrown your friend group, it might just show that there's something bugging you in it and you need to analyze and communicate and discover what it is and be aware of it, and then direct whichever step you're going to take. But it definitely is something to give attention to. You know, I don't think it's something to take lightly. But it's also not something to take like 100%. You know, like it has to be a feeling you've been having. Like, don't just because one day you wake up and you're like, oh, maybe I've outgrown my relationship. Maybe you're just like fed up with the person and like you just need to have some more conversation and you're just feeling a bit bored in the relationship, which can be normal and natural. So if you're questioning it, reflect more about it and just take it into consideration, but also don't take drastic measures before you really feel a bit more certain of whatever it is you decide. I forgot I was answering this to myself. In my regard, I've definitely outgrown a lot of versions of myself. I think versions of myself, in my case, and in many young people's cases, are actually about identities built by others, and not in a toxic way, but when you are young, you have grown, of course, with a lot of the perception of other people about you. So when we are kids, we hear a lot about, oh, that's a great red flag that people talk about, like, oh, you're so mature. That's another topic. But when you hear, oh, you're so mature, or oh, you are so responsible. Oh no, you don't like sports, but maybe you just don't like sports because you didn't like group sports. That's an example. I used to hate group sports. I've always hated them. And for the first 14 years of my life, I thought I was the most sedentary person ever, and I would always be. And when I say sedentary, I mean a 2-minute walk to my grandma's house that lives in the street behind me was the daily activity of my day. Like if I did that once, like on a Sunday, I felt like I worked out and I considered it a workout. So I was sedentary to the T. Like I was totally sedentary. And I really felt like that was my identity. And I even built upon that and put a little bit of pressure onto me that I had to stick to that because I didn't give a fuck. So when people were worried about me, like my family, like my parents would be like, you gotta do some sports. Like that's not good, you know? I wasn't healthy. And they told me to do sports and that I was too sedentary and that I had no like physical like endurance because I was a stupid teenager. But also I do have to speak like in defending myself, that I was also trying to protect myself in a way of, yes, there was the healthy part of physical endurance, but also there was a little bit of that idea of, oh, losing weight and things like that. Not from my parents, but like just I felt a bit of pressure of like, oh, people are telling me to do sports because they think I should change my body. And I was completely like against that. And I had a lot of anger towards body shaming and things like that. And so I really built my identity into I don't give a fuck. I don't do sports. I don't care if I'm sedentary. That doesn't matter, because I never saw the health part of it. I just saw the body part, which is really sad because sports is so much more than body. Like it's 1% aesthetics and 99% health. Like it's literally longevity and it's literally quality of life. But anyways, I was really stuck with that identity until I started going to the gym and I fell in love with it. And I became so much happier and so much more eased into my anxiety. And it made me so much better in my mental health. And it just was the like pushback of, wait, I don't like this. And when I realized, no, I'm going to outgrow this thing. Like, no, this isn't my identity. Like, just because I said once that I didn't like sports doesn't mean I'm not ever going to do sports, like that I can't move my body. And I still hate group sports, but it's really interesting to see how I outgrew that. And now I'm really an active person. Like, if somebody asks me, I say, no, I'm active. I'm not like sometimes, like I'm actually regularly at the gym working out. And that is really amazing. And yeah, I think I'm only going to answer 3 more. And I'm going to choose one of the topics. And then I'm going to read the questions. And the rest I'm going to leave for another video. If this is a good video. I don't know if this is a good video. Because I feel like it's too much. Like, I'm getting overwhelmed. You probably don't understand anything I'm saying. Anyways, so we have about purpose and direction, about connection and loneliness, about creativity and pressure, about love and intimacy, and about growth and healing. No, too deep also. I think I'm going to do creativity and pressure. It seems fun. Or love and intimacy. Okay, so there's 10, 11, and 12 are about creativity and pressure. And then 13 and 14 are about love and intimacy. I think I'm going to do both topics because it's 5 questions. I already answered 3. So it's not like double. It's almost double, but it's not. Let's see how it goes. Wow. These things really, they really go deep. I think what really strikes me on this question is that obviously it's something I asked ChatGPT to like ask a question I would ask. And what really is interesting is that it got it right because it doesn't say the level of impact or creativity I dream of. It just says I dream of it, but it doesn't explain whatever impact it is or whatever level it is. And I think if you worry too much about not achieving something, you don't even know what it is, what it's made of, what it is you're expecting to achieve. That is just a life of frustration and of pressure and of anxiety and just emptiness, you know? I think this is really interesting because if you know the level of impact or the level of something you want to achieve, if you know what it is, if you know the end goal, I think the only thing you can do really is do the plan you think is going to help you and do the best you can to achieve that. And of course, in life, sometimes we really just don't get things the way we wanted them a lot of times. But like with goals, I think there are so many ways you can try to achieve one goal. If the first way doesn't go right, try the second one. And if the second one doesn't go right, try the third one. And you have your entire life. Not every day, like literally every day, but if you are constantly in alignment with that goal and with the perspective of achieving it, you're going to be fine. Like, you've done your best. If you know you're working towards it and you're doing your best and you can see with clarity what you want to achieve, I feel like you shouldn't fear of never achieving it. I think you have to have peace in knowing you're doing what you think is best and what you can and what is reachable. And I think also sometimes we put too much pressure on time. I know this question says, what if I never? But I think it's important to really see it as a never thing. Like, it's your whole life. It's not in a year. It's not in 2 years. You can expand your goals to like in 10 years, in 20 years. Like, who are you to put time into certain goals, you know? Sometimes you just have to do your best and wait until things work out. I don't know. I really don't know. But I think it's important to have your goal clear. Like, don't just have it in you that you want, oh, I want to make a lot of impact. But what impact? Like, just impact is nothing. What impact? What is impact to you? That is the important question. And if you never reach it, I don't know. This is such a bad video because I don't know what to answer. Of course, because these questions are my own questions. This is really interesting. How do I balance being creatively expressive without exhausting myself emotionally? This is fascinating. I'm going to have to pause and I'll come back. So, I was recording in the morning and I was starting to feel shaky. I don't know if the video is even good enough because I was not feeling good. And then I realized I had drank like literally 650 milliliters of coffee, brewed coffee, black brewed coffee, which is not advised at all. The only reason I did that was because I went home today. I came back to my house and I had to wake up at 4:50, and then my bus was gonna leave at 6, so I had to go really quick and I couldn't drink coffee. And then when I arrived, I had my mother's coffee, which she made for me. And after you move out, when your mother makes something to you, you drink it with all of your heart. I do have to say, she didn't make it only for me. She made it for 2 people, but the other person didn't drink it. And so I just kept drinking. And it was 10:40 a.m. when I was recording to you guys the video. And I started feeling so shaky. I thought I was hungry. And then I started realizing that like I felt like adrenaline, and then I started drinking water and it started calming down, but it only went away after like peeing 3 times, and I think the caffeine went, with the pee. Anyways, here I am back. It's already 4 p.m. And I'm gonna answer the other question. How do I balance being creatively expressive without exhausting myself emotionally? So this one, I think it was the pivot point for me to end the video, that moment, because it's something that you really have to think about. And I think this is the best question so far. Like, it's not even the best question, but it's a question I am aware I have. Different from the other ones in which it's kind of just bugging me because it's like, it's showing me things I don't know that I wish I wasn't aware of. But this one I'm aware of. And I think it's so interesting because being creative is like one of the biggest power tools to make us feel good. And it can be like a hobby, you know, like it can make you feel great. And it can really make a person's quality of life better. And like someone in like a corporate job, for example, would like try to be creative and expressive to heal, you know, to be therapeutic and stuff like that. But then some of us, which is me, for example, I drain myself emotionally with the pursuit of being happy yeah, of being happy too, but of being creative, because I put so much pressure on myself. And I think what it is, and this doesn't just apply to like finding balance between trying to be creative and not like emotionally exhausting yourself, but especially with being creative, because being creative is something really sensitive and emotional. Because when you are creative, you're showing sides of you in an authentic way, you know, and like especially if you're like writing or composing in music and things like that, like you're really being yourself. And if you put too much pressure there, and I think the answer here is like, it's tough because like if it's a job, like if it's your career, you kind of have to put a little bit of pressure in the way of like, you might have to deliver something because you have to pay your bills. But like, I'm guessing like in my case, for example, like I hope one day being creative can pay my bills, you know, but that's not something that's happening right now. So right now, and even if I wanted to someday, like you cannot rush an artist. That's the point here. If you're gonna or not gonna get money from it, doesn't matter. You cannot rush art. And I think that's the point here. You can rush art because it is so fundamental for the main tool of the art, which is you. You, the artist, you are the main tool of the art. You have to be okay. Not okay, because a lot of great art comes from depressed and kind of insane people, but you have to be in a correct state of mind. You can't be completely drained. You can be screwed, but you can't be drained, because otherwise you're not going to have the creativity. So you can't put pressure on yourself in like unrealistic standards, you know? You can't be thinking you're going to write a book and publish it in 2 months. Like that's not going to happen, because that's not realistic. And it's not about being like, oh, realistic in a way of nobody gets success and life is just this way, and just stick your 9 to 5 and life has to be this way and you have to fix in a box. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not like trying to be realistic in the way people that say these things are. Although some of it holds true and some of it doesn't. But anyways, everything is relative. But I think you have to be realistic with yourself into knowing what can you give. You have to be honest, and not in a judgmental way, but in a open and loving way of what can I really do? I have this goal to do this project. How much can I really do each week to accomplish it little by little? If you work, if you study, like you're probably not full-time on mercy of this project, you know? Like you need to give yourself empathy as well. And you need to be realistic. You of course need to put boundaries in the sense of like, okay, I'm not gonna doom scroll for every single day for an hour before bed and say that I don't have time. Maybe I can remove like an hour a week to actually do my project. Yeah, you can. But you can't it can't be like a black and white thing of like, you don't do anything and then you get like freaked out of like, oh, I'm not achieving my goals creatively, and then you suddenly start like being super workaholic on your projects, but then you also have your job, and then you also have school, and then you also have, I don't know, a husband, and then you also have like a dog, and I don't know what you have. I don't have a dog and I don't have a husband, but I'm just giving examples. You have to be, you have to treat yourself with grace. That's the way you don't emotionally exhaust yourself. Just treat yourself with grace. Treat yourself as you are. Because if you look at yourself as an individual outside of yourself, you're going to start realizing that you're holding on to so many things that you don't give yourself acknowledgement for, and you deserve acknowledgement from yourself, not from others, but from yourself. You need to acknowledge all the things you're doing, and of course, be honest with yourself. How can I be more aligned with my goals creatively? Yes, you should do that, but you shouldn't do it in a way that demands of you something that you can't give right now. Or maybe you have to realize that you're gonna have to stop catering to things that aren't necessary in your job, for example. Like, stop doing extra shifts if you can afford that, and then use that time for your projects. Or stop taking that extra class at school and do your project. I don't know, like, but you need to be realistic. I think if you're emotionally exhausting yourself, you're probably not being realistic. That's the whole point. I spent 10 minutes to say that. So the next question is, can I slow down and still be taken seriously? Or do I have to keep proving my worth all the time? That is really nice. That's a really good question. You 100% can. And this question, it just shows that the person that is not taking yourself seriously is you. Like, the person that has a problem with you slowing down and you taking things easy and you being nice to yourself is literally you. Maybe people in your life have made you believe that, and maybe they have that problem too. But the main thing here is that you learned that, and so the biggest like stone in your way is you. Because if you think that, it doesn't matter if everyone else wants you to relax and just be happy. If you think you can't take things easy, and if you think you're not worth anything, if you're not achieving 100 things at once, if you have those beliefs, it doesn't even matter if everyone else doesn't. But they probably do, because if you learned that, maybe in your childhood you learned that, I don't know. I think a lot of this can come from families that really just have suffered maybe with like, oh, you need to value your job. You need to value the fact we have food on the table. You need to value the fact that you have a roof on your head and things like that, which are so true. But sometimes maybe when you're growing up and you hear those things, you start thinking that the only worth comes if you have a job and you make money and you're working and you're busy and you're being responsible and you're paying the bills, and then like you attach that to jobs and school, and I don't know. But 100% yes, you can slow down and still be taken seriously. And I'd argue that in my regard, for example, many of the people that I look up to and that I find that have made great things in life and that have achieved great things, so many of them are people that are in their bodies. They're in the moment. They're present, and they speak things in a clear way, and they speak things with assertiveness, and they've reflected and they've thought. If you don't slow down, you're not going to have a good thought ever. That's the thing. If you don't slow down and you actually think about what you're feeling and your emotions in anyways, everything, you're not going to have real quality things to put on the table, you know? So take yourself seriously and start slowing down, because you're not a machine, you're a human. That's it. Oh God, that was a good TED Talk. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.